Let's talk about what's happening in the Middle East, because right now, the region is on an absolute knife's edge. A long-running shadow war between Iran and Israel has just burst into the open, and it's pulling the United States right into the middle of a conflict that's already sending major ripples across the entire global economy.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Why is everything on such high alert now? What exactly happened to push this long simmering tension to its boiling point? And why is literally the rest of the world watching so closely?
Let's dive right in. Look, we're not just talking about some distant political headlines here. We are seeing real-world impacts right now. As military forces are being moved around, the price of oil has already jumped to a 6-month high. This is not just another regional flare-up, you know? The stakes for global stability are incredibly high.
Okay, so to get a handle on where all this might be going, we first need a really clear picture of what's happening on the ground. Let's break down the immediate chain of events that got us here.
The main thing to understand here is just how unprecedented these attacks are. We've kind of moved past the old playbook of proxy conflicts and into direct, state-on-state strikes. For instance, the initial strike wasn't on some militia group. It was on a sensitive military base inside Iran. And the sheer speed and scale of the retaliation that followed, well, that's what has world leaders so worried that this could spiral completely out of control.
So, what was the spark? I mean, a crisis this big doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. There's always a trigger. Let's trace the specific events that really let this fuse.
And here's the thing. This escalation happened incredibly fast. It all kicked off with what sources are describing as a very targeted airstrike on an Iranian facility. But the critical part, the real game changer, was what happened next. Instead of using a proxy group to hit back, Iran retaliated directly, launching a massive barrage of drones and missiles. That direct engagement, that's a major red line that was just crossed, and it immediately put the entire region on a war footing.
But look, this isn't just some regional military crisis. The shockwaves are already hitting the global economy. And that's where it starts to affect every single one of us, no matter where you happen to live.
So why the intense global focus? Honestly, it all comes down to the fear of a massive energy shock. The entire global economy is incredibly sensitive to the flow of one particular resource through this one specific region, oil.
And this right here, this is the choke point. The Strait of Hormuz is basically the world's most critical oil artery. Iran has threatened to close it down in the past, but with naval forces on high alert, that threat suddenly feels a lot more real. Even just a partial disruption here could send the entire energy market into a tailspin. The market's reaction was, well, immediate. We're talking about Brent crude futures, a key benchmark for oil prices, jumping over 4% in just a matter of hours after the first reports came out. This isn't just speculation. This is the market pricing in a very real risk of a major supply disruption. And this isn't just about the price you pay at the pump. The real fear for economists is something called stagflation. Basically, an oil shock could fuel inflation, making everything more expensive, while at the same time slamming the brakes on economic growth. For the people trying to manage economies, it's pretty much a nightmare scenario. So all of this brings us to the crucial question. Where does it go from here? Right now, analysts are basically looking at 3 main paths forward, and they range from a diplomatic solution all the way to a full-blown regional war. Let's walk through these, okay? Path 1, de-escalation. This is the best-case scenario, obviously, but given the direct attacks, it feels like a tough sell right now, even though diplomacy is always happening in the background. Path 2, a contained conflict. This is what many think is the most likely immediate future, a kind of tense, hot peace with sporadic strikes. But the real danger, the one everyone is terrified of, is Path 3, a wider war. If a major oil facility gets hit, or if a U.S. asset is targeted, this could escalate beyond anyone's control. So for the moment, the entire region is just holding its breath. You've got military forces at their highest state of readiness, while at the same time, you have this frantic, behind-the-scenes diplomatic effort to find a way out. It's a true balancing act, and honestly, it could tip either way at any moment. Ultimately, it's just impossible to predict the next move. But what we do know for sure is that the unwritten rules of this conflict have been torn up. The big question now is whether the major powers can write new rules through diplomacy, or if the region is heading for a new, far more dangerous chapter. I guess the next few weeks are going to tell the whole story.